Good morning, ADMC retail and vendor partners. Thank you for attending session one of our six-part series, Selling in the New Retail Reality. Bob Nagan from Whizbang Training will be our host for all six sessions. Bob has enjoyed a successful career both in owning and operating a successful chain of kite stores and in the retail training business. He's been the most popular speaker we've ever had at ADMC trade shows over the years. As well. Before I turn it over to Bob, there are a couple of items I would like to cover. There will be a chat box open throughout today's session to submit any questions you might have for Bob. The next five series will be pre-recorded. The sixth and final series will be a live event with Bob. We'll take all of the questions that have come up during the five initial events. And when Bob's on live for the sixth event, we'll have a session post-training for Q&A where we'll bring up all the questions that have come up during the entire series. With that, I'll hand the reins over to Mr. Bob Nagan.
All right. Well, thank you, Terry. And I'm really happy to be here. And I'm excited that this is the first program that manage your mindset, control your stress, and save your sanity, because this is a crazy, crazy time, isn't it? You know, we've all been through so much. We have a community, a Facebook community called Whizbang Retailers, and I posted, you know, how long were you shut down? And, you know, some people, some retailers, independent retailers have been shut down completely. You know, most of you in the pet industry have been deemed essential. But I don't care. Everything is so stressful. Everything is so uncertain with the economy, with the coronavirus. So, you know, understanding, having some simple techniques and some simple strategies that you can use to sort of managing your mindset, because managing what's up here is just as important as managing your business. You know, I don't need to tell you, some of you not only have managed your business, you've managed your household, you have educated your children, and perhaps taken care of loved ones who need extra attention. So, you know, it's a crazy, crazy time. But before we begin, I just want to sort of share with you and really congratulate you for still being here, for being a survivor, for watching this video, which shows me that you're interested in becoming better, that you're interested in coming out of this thing, however it plays out, better and stronger than ever. You know, here's what I believe. I believe that you have grown as a business person and as a person more in the last 3 months than you probably have in the last 3 years. Why? Because you were forced to grow. You were forced to change. Your business was forced to change. But today we're going to talk about, you know, this whole idea of managing yourself and your mindset and your stress. And we're going to break it down into 3 different parts. We're going to talk about annoyances. We're going to talk about stress. And we're going to talk about uncertainty. So let's start with annoyances, because annoyances, hang on, I'm making a quick note here. Annoyances are those little things that take up too much of your headspace. And when we're in uncertain times, right now, you need your mind to be as clear as possible. And annoyances, you know, there's one thing about annoyance. They're not very big and they're not very dangerous, but man, oh man, you know, so let me give you an example. So one example would be you get a bad social media review. Some people I know will carry that thing, that bad review around with them for, you know, for days and days and days. So it's taking up mental real estate that should be used for solving problems, that should be used for figuring out, you know, what you need to do to get through this doggone pandemic. Another annoyances are when people right now, one of the big annoyances that I see happening out there a lot is, and it's not, and actually it's more than an annoyance, but it's potentially dangerous, is having customers that don't want to wear masks, even though you as a store may have a policy that people need to wear masks, or like here in Michigan, our governor just mandated that everyone who is inside has to wear a mask. So no matter where you are on that scale, my point is that somebody being mean, and there's a lot of people being very, very mean right now about a lot of things. Those are what I call annoyances. You know, it's not a threat to your long-term business. It's not a threat to you. It's not something that's a true stressor, but it's just enough to trigger you. It's just enough to make you mad. And so there's a couple things that I want to share with you about annoyances. And the first is, recognize the difference between an incident and a problem. And an incident is something that happens once or twice or occasionally, and a problem is something that is persistent. And as entrepreneurs, as especially, or as human beings, there is a tendency to take an incident and in our heads make it a problem. So for instance, I got an email from a client when this whole thing started. And, you know, what happened, and this was before the whole thing started, and somebody just shamed her on social media about about being open when the pandemic was starting to roll out. And now this was before it became a problem. But this was one incident, and my client, who is a very wonderful, sensitive woman, just was going crazy. This, you know, it threw her totally off her game for 3 days. And so when I talked to her, I asked her the question. I said, Maureen, is this the only time somebody has shamed you on social media, or is it happening all the time? You know, is it happening 4 times a day? Has it happened once? Well, it turns out it happened once. So that meant it was an incident. And the thing about an incident is that it is a place in time. It is a moment in time. It is a data point. So when you find yourself annoyed, the first question to ask yourself is this an incident? Is this a one-time or an occasional thing that's happening, or is it a problem? And if it's an incident, recognize that it is a moment in time. Figure out what you have to do to deal with it emotionally, take your decision, and move forward. So for Maureen, that's my client, I suggested that, you know, we talked about there's that data point, that moment in time. We said, let's just have a very simple reply. So she created a very simple reply. I'm sorry you feel this way. This is how my business is, you know, working incredibly hard to keep you safe. There, done, boom. You see what she did? She took care of it. She recognized she was annoyed about an incident. She took care of it, and then she moved on. I'm going to talk about BAM in just a moment. Now, same person, all of a sudden, she's in sort of Metro Philly. It became a problem. Metro Philly became a hot spot. Now, even though she had her same safety procedures in place, now all of a sudden people are piling on. So it's no longer an incident. Now it's a problem. And so a problem takes a whole nother set of skills. It takes the ability to look at it and figure out what you're going to do with it. It's a problem to solve. An incident, usually you just need to emotionally move past. An incident it means that there is a simple solution. You find the solution, you implement the solution, you move on. A problem is bigger, and it usually takes a more complex or more involved, you know, process to understand. And we're going to talk about all these things in our time here together. So the first thing, when you're annoyed, ask yourself, is this an incident? Is it a problem? If it's an incident, figure out what to do and move on. Here's a great acronym and a great way to think about incidents. When you're annoyed and you have asked yourself, so really a lot of it is self-awareness, right? So all of a sudden you find yourself annoyed. You feel it in your chest, you feel it in your head. And self-awareness, as you become better at this, you go, is this an incident or is this a problem? This is an incident. Okay. Then there's this technique called BAM. And BAM is an acronym for breathe, acknowledge, and move on. And so when you have determined that it is an incident, not a problem, what do? You take a deep breath. You acknowledge that frustration, and it could be anything. It could be a member of your team didn't close your store the way that you wanted them to. It could be that one of your customers was rude to one of your team members, right? All of these incidents, these aren't real problems. These are things that you just need to emotionally deal with and have go away. So breathe. Acknowledge how you feel. How you feel is real. My friend Maureen felt awful. I mean, she was used to her customers showing her love. All of a sudden, someone is writing hateful posts on her social media feed. I mean, it tore her up. But, how you feel is how you feel. It's very real. So you have to acknowledge how you feel. Don't try to suppress it. Just, wow, that really hurt my feelings. And then M is move on. So for most annoyances, acknowledge how you feel and move on. BAM is a wonderful, wonderful technique for most annoyances. And, we're starting with this because, again, annoyances, if you don't have techniques and skills to deal with annoyances, they fester in you. And again, they're taking up too much headspace. They're not paying rent in your head. You need to evict those annoyances so that you have the mental bandwidth to deal with the real problems that are happening right now. And they are real problems, and you need to have the mental and emotional bandwidth to deal with it. One more acronym. So BAM is breathe, acknowledge, and move on. Another acronym is Q-tip. Q-tip. And Q-tip is an acronym for quit taking it personally. And this is most annoyances are a function of someone taking something personally. My friend Maureen, she took it personally. She took it as a personal attack. And so the metaphor, so what you do when you sit there in a meeting or you're dealing with a customer who is being a pain in the neck, just, take your fingers, and you know how a Q-tip, you go like that to clean your ears? Just take your fingers and very softly put them by your side and roll them like you have a Q-tip. And this is the physical trigger to let it go. This is a physical trigger to go, well, this is BS. I'm not going to take this personally. Again, annoyances are often a function of you taking something personally that really shouldn't be taken personally. So we're starting with annoyances because they're small. They should be, given the techniques that you just learned and the insights that you just learned, you should be able to move past them quickly. But I know a lot of people who aren't able to move past them quickly and therefore lose a lot of that momentum that comes from having the mental bandwidth that you need to deal with real problems. So those are annoyances. Deal with them, make them go away. Stress. Now, stress, that's a different story. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this has been some of the most stressful times that I've ever been through. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, people are dying. The economy is tanking. I'm happy for you being in the industry that you're in, because people still have, love their pets and want to take care of their pets. And I'm happy that you're a customer of ADMC, because I know that they really, focus on supporting you. But it doesn't change. I don't care. I'm sure even the Dalai Lama is stressed out right now, right? I mean, stress is just part of our reality that we're dealing with right now. So I'm just going to share with you a couple of, generic stress reducers that I hope that you'll consider. So we are in the middle of our Retail Success Summit right now. I just had this right here, but this was part of our swag bag. There is our logo on the back, but this is a stress ball. When you push it, his head go up. Let me see if I'm not getting it very well. When you push him, his eyes go in and out. But you really could have some sort of a stress ball, something that you can physically do something with, so that when you start to feel stressed out, maybe it's a tennis ball or a stress ball of some sort, but taking what's in your head, because stress is primarily something that is happening in your head, and moving it to a physical reaction to it. So a stress ball, just like Q-tip is a physical trigger for, to change your mind, something like this is, a stress ball is a wonderful, wonderful way for you to reduce stress. Just have it by you. You start getting yourself stressed, squeeze that ball, because you know what happens when you squeeze that ball? You're training a connection between your mind and your body, and you're developing an association between squeezing the ball and relaxing. So that's one thing, just having that physical association, having something that you do or use, so when you start to feel it in your chest, you have something to go to. The second thing is, and I know that you've heard this all before, but I'm going to say it again, just because it makes, this is sort of the list of things that make a big difference, is exercise. If you walk a half hour a day, your stress will, especially if you walk in the woods or you're out in nature, as opposed to, through your neighborhood, it really makes a big difference. Your brain calms down. There is all sorts of science that connects being in nature, under the trees or out at the beach. Really experiencing nature is a great way to reduce stress. I like it to work out hard. I work out 3 days a week with a personal trainer. Since I started doing that, my stress has gone way, way, way down. But you don't need to have a personal trainer. I mean, the only reason I have a personal trainer is because if I don't have a personal trainer and I'm not paying somebody and getting up to get to an appointment, I don't do it like I should. And I know I need to be healthier because of all the stress. So that's why right now I have a trainer. But, my point here is not telling you what to do for exercise and stress. The point is to get you to think about, are you stressed out, and what are you doing about it? Because again, it's like annoyances. Unless you proactively relieve your stress or deal with your stress, it's just going to sit in there, and it is incredibly unhealthy. And long enough, you let it sit there long enough, you could die from it. Death is not a good thing, from what I understand. So exercise, something that ties into that also is sleep. And, I am not a good sleeper. I don't know about you, but, I always have a little bit of problem with sleep. And what I have learned is that I have to be very, very proactive about my sleep. So, I don't know how you sleep, but if you're not sleeping well, I've read a couple of books about it, and I'm going to share with you my next and perhaps my favorite stress reducing technique. And it comes from the 10% Happier app. So there is so much research that shows that meditation is an unbelievable tool to reduce stress, to calm you, to set your day right once a day. And in fact, in our Platinum Mastermind group, which is our highest level group of independent retailers, you have to apply and be accepted. It's expensive. You have to travel. But we start every day with meditation. Why? Because it is a mental reset that gets everyone ready for a day of productivity. And so if you were to start to meditate and you got in the habit of meditation and you did it every morning, and I do it most mornings, not every morning, but every morning when I meditate, it makes a huge difference. My day is more productive. My energy level is higher. My enthusiasm level is higher. So I really, really recommend meditation. But here's what I like even better. Before I started meditating with the Calm app. It's a guided meditation, so you just put in your headphones and you let the person tell you what to do, how to breathe, what to think. It's guided. That's best for beginners. Trust me, best for beginners. But someone shared with me the 10% Happier app. And what I love about the 10% Happier app, it is a combination of mindfulness training and meditation. So Dan Harris, the guy who invented the app, who has written a couple books about meditation, who is and was a television personality, who started meditating when he had a total freak out meltdown on live television. And so he started meditating because he knew he needed to get control of his brain. And so what he brought in all of these mindfulness and meditation experts. So instead of just a guided meditation, now there is a mindfulness lesson followed by meditation. And for me, I like to know why something is working. I like to think about it. I love, watching webinars, going to live events. I love feeding the information into my mind that will help me grow. And I just took to the 10% Happier app just right away because, I just really felt like I was gaining access to the wisdom of all of these people who are, they're famous. They're famous because they are experts, in the field. So, one of the trainer, and then there's courses. So one of them is George Mumford, who was Kobe Bryant's and Michael Jordan's meditation coach. So, he did a whole series on performance. Well, I like to know about performance. You're an entrepreneur. You want to know how to perform better. And so his whole course was about performing under pressure and how mindfulness works. So I would encourage you to, they have a 7-day free trial. Just try it. See if you like it. Give it 7 days. And if it's 7 days, pay the money and get in the habit of either meditation or using the 10% Happier app to build your wisdom, reduce your stress, become more mindful. Another, we talked about sleep earlier. The 10% Happier app has lots and lots of sleep programs by men and women, long and short. So it's something that I love to do is just lay in bed with my headphones, listen to a sleep meditation, and just have this opportunity to really drain my brain before I go to sleep. So when I go to sleep, all that chatter that comes from all of the stress that we're under just sort of, it just calms it. And I find myself sleeping a lot better. And I know some of you are saying, I know what works for stress: 3 glasses of wine when I get home or 4 beers when I get home. And while alcohol can have a calming effect and it is delicious, when we talk about reducing stress, I'm not sure that I would put that on my list of recommended resources. So Do you see where we are so far? So we're talking about really managing our ability to deal with annoying situations and being proactive about building a resilient mindset, building this resilience into yourself. This is what meditation does. It builds resilience into yourself. So when stress comes, you're much more able to handle it correctly. And so finally, the third thing that I want to talk about here is I want to talk about uncertainty. We are deep into uncertainty. And one of the things that is important for you to do is not only to be able to deal with the uncertainty from an emotional standpoint, from, like dealing with your stress, developing the resilience through meditation, understanding how to let annoyances go quickly by BAM or Q-tip, but really it's also about having business strategies and personal strategies that you can use to make decisions to move your business forward. Because making decisions quickly, making good decisions that you are confident in quickly is one of the strategies that you need to have for dealing with this uncertainty. Because when you make good decisions quickly, your confidence grows. So there's three things that I want to talk about here when we talk about making good business decisions in uncertain times. And the first thing to recognize is that that business, that retail, that your pet store, that your pet business, grooming or whatever you do, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And we have to detach the moment from the journey. So, all of this stuff is happening, and we tend to internalize it and make it now and make it bigger than it really is. Although this pandemic is pretty big, don't get me wrong. But by recognizing that we're in this for the long term, it really helps us deal with the pain and uncertainty of a moment a little more stoically. So I've never run a marathon, but I've run two half marathons, and I'm a big guy. I run in the Clydesdale division. I'm a big, heavy guy. I'm slow, but here's what I know. So I'm trying to run 13.2 miles. I've trained for this thing, and there always comes times in that 13 and a half miles, or when I'm training for a half marathon, where it really, really, really sucks, where I hate it. And, the thing about a long race like that is you have to recognize that there are going to be those moments when it really, really sucks. But at the end of the day, what are you trying to do? You're trying to get to the end, right? So it's not about the fact that you are in pain or you don't like it or any of those things right now. It's all about getting to the end. It's about getting to the end. So one of the things that we strongly encourage all retailers when we have in-person programs, whether it's our Business Breakthrough Accelerator program or our Platinum Mastermind group, or we do some online programs, most of those, or if you do a day strategy session in our office, we start with writing a vision statement. In a vision statement, if you want to learn how to write a vision statement, it's really quite simple, but it's an incredibly liberating exercise. You can just Google vision statement Zingerman's. Remember that, Zingerman's. It sounds weird, but Zingerman's is a family of businesses in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the co-founder, Ari Weinzweig, is a business mentor of ours and a friend of ours. And that business, $80 million business, Inc. magazine called it one of America's top small companies to work for. their whole business is built around vision statements. But a vision statement is really you putting yourself in the future and say, what do I want the future to look like? What do I want my business to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And really figure it out, not just your business, but your life. What do you want from your pet store? What do you want from your business? And when you understand what the end goal is, the hard times on the journey are not as discouraging. It's just kind of like I was saying in that moment, it's just like, oh man, I don't like this at all. But guess what? I know that at 13.1 miles, I'm going to cross the finish line. I will have accomplished what I want to have accomplished. And then I don't have to run a half marathon ever again. But so the first part of this, of dealing with uncertainty, is understanding what you want out of your business and your life, and recognize that what's happening right now is just a difficult part of that journey. Stay focused on the goal. Keep your eye on the prize. That's the big picture piece. The second piece of it is this ability to make decisions quickly. So many, many of you may get sheltered in place in the next week or two. If the coronavirus continues if the trends continue, we may go back to where we were in March. Well, that is something you need to make decisions about quickly. All of the things that are happening in your business right now is the time for leadership and decisive, quick decision making. So Susan and I created a model for this, and it's called the AAA mindset. And AAA is an acronym. By the way, I love TLAs, 3-letter acronyms, right? BAM, AAA. I'm going to share another one with you in a second. But AAA stands for assess, adjust, and advance. So when something happens, when you need to make a decision, when there is a shift in the market, or you need to react, maybe your sales are going down too quickly, foot traffic is way down, assess. Or maybe you've been deemed essential and you have way more business than you can handle with the amount of people you have. You have to assess. So that first part is really just you acknowledging to yourself what the problem or what the opportunity is, and being accurate. This is so important. Accurate thinking, don't BS yourself. Ask yourself and be courageous enough to speak the truth to yourself. But so assess. Sales are down 20%. That is an assessment. The adjustment is what you're going to do about it. And maybe it's, I need to crank up my marketing. Maybe I need to hire a coach. Maybe I need to bring in a new line. Maybe I need to engage in sales training. I don't know what the assessment is. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But I'm sorry, I don't know what the adjustment is, but but you have to react to your assessment. Too many people, when we talk about stress, too many people get stuck in the stress and get stuck in it. This model, the AAA mindset, gives you the model to get unstuck and move forward. And that's what the third is, advance, you see. So once you assess and you are in this process, the adjustment is what you're going to do. It's what you're going to do. So, so you say, where are we? We're down 20%. What are we going to do? You make your plan. Then you move on with the plan. The third one is advance. The third A is advance. And, during the whole pandemic, when we were shelter in place here in Michigan, Susan and I found ourselves using this model 3-4 times a week, sometimes a couple times a day. Where are we? What do we need to do? Where are we? What do we need to do? Now, the other beautiful thing about the AAA mindset is that it also has a rinse and repeat dynamic to it. So again, we're making decisions on the fly in a hurry. So, okay, so we're down 20%. We're going to buff up our website. Let's just say that's the adjustment. So you buff up your website, you launch your new website, and 3 weeks later, the sales aren't what they need to be. What do? You assess again. So you really have that circle, that rinse and repeat circle around the AAA mindset. Because part of this whole idea of reducing stress and be able to move forward in a meaningful way is the ability to make good decisions on the fly or in really quickly. And this is a model that you can use. The next TLA, 3-letter acronym that I want to share with you is ADD. And this is, again, something that Susan and I developed. And here's how and this is, I'll share a little story of how this model evolved. So I do a lot of coaching. I talk to retailers. I'm talking to them on the phone all the time, and in person. We have a mastermind, all these things. And I found myself constantly asking the people I was coaching. I said, "So what would your staff say? What would your staff say?" And finally, I heard myself asking that question often enough that I went, "Oh, isn't that something?" Your team can be such an incredible resource for you. Let me just say this to you. As entrepreneurs, we have a tendency to feel like we need to have all the answers. And if you want to be a leader, if you want to, really move forward on this whole thing, and we're going to talk about this, is you have to, you don't have to have the answers. You just have to be able to find the answers. And often the answers come from your team. So how does this work? It goes like this. ADD stands for ask, discuss, decide. So you see, you're taking all the burden for coming up with all of the answers for how to move your business forward or how to save your business or how to get through these problems. And you're allowing your team members to help you come up with the answer. So ADD, ask. So I'll go back to the this whole AAA, asks. You're down 20%. So the adjustment is part of the adjustment in the AAA is to go to your team and say, let's discuss this, the ask. So ask, we're down 20%. Discuss. So the ask is when you go to your team with a problem or an opportunity. The D is discuss it. So you're allowing them to help you come up with an answer. Really, you're creating a little mastermind out of your team. So they're going to discuss it. Now, here's one of the tricks about discuss needs to be time bound. You don't want to say, we're down 20%, let's discuss it. Because and I know what will happen. The whole conversation will just dribble down into nothingness. What you have to say is, we're going to talk about this for 4 days, then we're going to make a decision. Ask, discuss, decide. And the decision is really the third A, how you advance, right? You see how the two of them tie together? So you say, we're down 20%, we're going to have this conversation for 4 days and we're going to move forward with whatever we decide. Of course, you get to decide, but make it about them. Then they're enthusiastic about helping you out. And so for 4 days, it becomes your responsibility as the leader to really go out and, if you have a Slack channel or a private Facebook group for your employees, it's your responsibility to keep the conversation alive. Maybe you take people out for coffee. If you go out with your team members after work, if maybe you go and you all have pizza together, but you talk about it. You say, look, you guys, I need your help coming up with a solution. We're down 20%. We have to figure out what we're going to do. So then at the end of whatever that time frame is, then you stop and you say, this is the decision, right? It goes back. You see how the ADD and the AAA mindset are very similar, but they're different at the same time, that the ADD sort of tucks into that second A, tucks into that adjust. And then you make the decision, and then you move forward with your decision. So when we talk about uncertainty and we talk about the stress that is around uncertainty, the mindset needs to be what I'm encouraging you to do is to be very, very proactive. You know, one of the things that I teach all the time is the only way to respond to stress is with action. And these two things are really, really great tools to allow you to respond to stress with action in an intelligent, thoughtful, inclusive way. The other thing that I want to share with you when we talk about uncertainty is this idea of who, not how. Who, not how. And, and so really, as the world gets faster and the world becomes more uncertain and more stressful, the need to go find people to help you with your problems, to help you grow, that can be a sounding board, that can, really, really give you the information you need to solve the problems. This is a really important shift for a lot of you. I mean, I was an independent retailer for 19 years. For 20 years, I've been doing this. So I know independent retailers. They don't call us independent retailers for nothing, right? And what that means, that spirit that, prompted you to open your pet store, and that passion that got it to to a place of success. At least that's my guess. If you're watching this, you're probably a learner and you're probably successful because of it. We have this can-do attitude. There's a problem, I'm going to solve it. I am going to fix it. This is why ADD is so powerful, because it's no longer about you have to fix it. Now you can bring your team in to fix it. But sometimes the problem is bigger than the experience of your team. And then what do you have to do? You have to say, okay, here's a problem that me and my team can't solve. Who knows how to do this? I don't know how to do this. I need to find somebody who does. I'll share with you. Right now, we are in the middle of our virtual retail success summit. And my guess is that everybody at ADMC is doing the exact same thing with the new zoo, right? So our world has been turned on its head. So every year in Grand Rapids, Michigan, we have the Retail Success Summit, which is the world's largest educational event for independent retailers. The world is shut down. We already have 200 people registered. What are we going to do? Assess. What are we going to do? Well, we're kind of screwed. Nobody is going to come to Grand Rapids. The convention center is closed down. So then we go. So the assessment is, we cannot have this event live in person in Grand Rapids. Adjust. What are we going to do? Well, the adjustment clearly was we need to go virtual. So then we go down. So the adjustment is we need to go virtual. So then we jumped into ADD mode. So we said to our team, how do we go virtual? And we talked about it and we had some ideas, but what we recognized was that taking an event that has hundreds of people in it and making it go virtual was way above the pay grade of our office. So what did we do? We said, okay, we don't know how to do it, but we found some people who did know how to do it. We found the who. And the who was called Sage Events, and they were having a big virtual summit on how to do virtual summits. And we sent our meeting planner to that virtual summit. Why? Because she's great at organizing in-person summits, but she needed to this is outside of her skill set. So we went to Sage and we learned from Sage. And there were still a lot of things that we needed to learn how to do. But do you see the process that we used? And I'm sure that it's going the same way with ADMC with the new zoo. But it was, look, here's where we are. We need to move forward. We're talking to our team, but our team doesn't have the skills. So we're going outside of our team and we're finding other people, outside expertise that will allow us to solve that problem or move forward. So do you see what we're doing here? I hope that you found that helpful, because this is all, it's not just about, having a glass of wine and hopefully relaxing at night and maybe taking, a melatonin to sleep through the night. That's not how we're going to manage our mindsets and get to the place where we need to be, because all of us as entrepreneurs, we need a new set of skills for this new reality that we're living in. And so much of those skill sets are about mindset. So it's what goes on up here that is going to determine the success that you have in the future. And if you can learn how to, quickly dismiss annoyances, that you proactively reduce your stress in a meaningful way and develop the skills to deal with uncertainty, and most importantly, be able to make good decisions quickly that move you forward. I think that's the framework for really being able to attack the future in a meaningful way. So I hope that you found that helpful. Terry, are there any questions?
Yeah, Bob, we have a few related to, mostly related to staff.
Okay.
And the first one comes from your beginning here with annoyances. And you brought up the example, but I think it's a legitimate issue right now is wearing masks.
Yes.
And whether it's state mandated or, store policy or whatever, how would you encourage your staff to engage with customers that weren't?
That's a great question. So really, a lot of it is, so really it's ADD, right? So let's just say that you have a firm policy that masks must be worn in your store. So the trick is to really, incredibly clear signage in your front window. And you might even want to, and it says, if you don't, we require that you wear a mask, or if you don't have a mask, we'll give you one when you come in. If you don't like to wear masks, if for health reasons you can't wear a mask, or if it somehow if you feel like it's violating your rights, please let us know. What we will do is we will have a FaceTime call with you and give it to you at curbside. So there's a couple dynamics here. First of all, tell them what they can do, or tell them what you will do for them, not what they can't do. And the second part of it is really script it out for your staff. It's such a terrible thing to put your staff in that position, but that is a great example of where ADD would come in, where you would say to your team, okay, look, here's the scoop. This is what we need to figure out together and have a conversation around it. So great question. Thank you.
Second one is, during your Q-tip discussion, how do you not take personally when customers are attacking your staff?
You just have to let it go, because you have to recognize that you taking it personally it's worthless. It's not an attack on you, it's an attack on your staff. And yes, you're taking it personally because you like your staff, you're protecting your staff, but you're taking it personally. And when you're taking it personally, you're taking that burden and putting it on yourself. What you have to do is recognize that what you have to do is you have to go and defend your staff. You have to work it out so that your staff feels protected, not so that you feel somehow put upon. So depersonalize it and solve the problem.
Let's get into the stress category. Does it make any sense in developing some sort of daily stress activities for the staff? I think they're making it a regular daily event.
I think that is a wonderful idea. Here at Whizbang Training, we do yoga. We hire a yoga instructor who comes in twice a week. You know, my son Joe was a volunteer trail builder, and every morning they all got together and stretched together. You know, I mean, morning meetings are a wonderful idea for most retailers. So I like that idea. You know, how it works and how it looks in your store might be, you know, I mean, you would have to find out. That would be another ADD exercise. You see, I love that idea of just going to your team and say, hey, do we need to do this? Do we want to do this? How do we do this? So good. Another great question. Thank you.
Related to ADD, is it best to address the team individually or as a team?
As a team, as a team. So you put the question out to the team, but of course you can have individual conversations around it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the whole team to sort of act as a mastermind. You want them discussing it among themselves. You want to have a collective mentality around solving whatever problem or opportunity you're confronting.
I think that's it for questions today, Bob.
All right, wonderful. Well, I want to say thank you to you, Terry, to John and everybody at ADMC, to all of you who are watching this. I know that, you know, we have several more of these. I hope that you'll tune in. And I certainly hope that you're all there with bells and whistles on for the new zoo, because I'm sure that ADMC is going to do a great job for you there. So thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Bob.